Imagine you are living in the 19th century. When night falls, the world plunges into an eerie silence and a thick, heavy darkness. The only light in your house is from a dim oil lamp, foul-smelling and choked with soot. People accepted that as their fate. But there was one man who decided to redefine the night for humanity. His name was Thomas Alva Edison. Edison's story does not begin in a magnificent laboratory, but with a piece of paper neatly folded inside the coat pocket of a 7-year-old boy. The boy returned home from school and handed his mother a letter from the principal. The mother, Nancy Edison, opened the letter. Tears welled up in her eyes as she read it aloud to her son. "Your son is a genius. This school is too small and does not have enough good teachers to train him. Please teach him at home." Many years later, after his mother passed away, Edison accidentally found that original letter in an old closet. He opened it and was frozen in shock as he read the actual words. "Your son is a mentally deficient child. We can no longer accept him into this school." Think about it. If Nancy had cried and scolded Edison that day, would the world have lost a genius? The first battle Edison won was not in a laboratory, but the battle of faith against societal prejudice, all thanks to his mother's protective shield. But life was not that easy. Edison had no formal degrees, and he was deaf in one ear from a young age due to a severe illness and a train accident. He started his independent life selling newspapers and candy on trains. His very first failure came when he was just a teenager, when his makeshift chemistry lab on a train car overturned and caused a fire. Because of that incident, he was dealt a box on the ear by the conductor. He was then thrown off the train along with his pile of ruined equipment. At the age of 22, Edison arrived in Washington full of confidence with the first major invention of his life, the electronic vote recorder. This device allowed lawmakers to push buttons to vote right at their desks, and the results were accurately tabulated in just a few seconds. This method completely replaced the manual counting process that used to take hours. Edison thought excitedly, "This is it. This invention will change politics forever." But when he demonstrated it before Congress, their reaction was chillingly cold. The committee chairman bluntly threw a harsh truth right in his face. "Young man, if there is anything on earth we do not want to speed up, it is the counting of votes. That delay is the ultimate weapon for political parties to negotiate and change their minds." His debut invention was a total flop. Not a single person bought the device. Edison stood frozen in shock in the middle of the Congressional building. He was hungry, he was broke, and he realized a brutal, hard-earned lesson. An extremely clever product is absolutely worthless if there's no real-world demand for it. From that day on, Edison swore, "I will never invent anything that people won't buy." Now we come to the most thrilling chapter, the light bulb filament. We often hear textbooks say Edison invented the light bulb. In fact, the light bulb had been created by others before him, but they only glowed for a few minutes before burning out. Or those early bulbs were far too expensive and power-hungry. Edison's mission was to find a material that could serve as the filament. This material had to withstand high temperatures and burn continuously for hundreds of hours. Edison turned Menlo Park into a workshop that never slept. Picture a room filled with smoke and dust, shattered glass, and men with dark circles under their eyes from sleep deprival. They tested everything from platinum to cotton thread. But platinum burned out quickly, and the cotton thread instantly turned to ash. They kept experimenting with chains but failed. They even tried using their assistants' beards, the engineers' hair, strips of leather, banana peels, and more than 6,000 different plant species. This grueling journey dragged through more than 1,000 failed experiments. Then the number climbed to 2,000, 5,000, and peaked at nearly 10,000 failures. The press at the time began to mock him. Mainstream scientists called him a fraud and a delusional dreamer, while investors started pulling their capital. One day, a young assistant, exhausted and discouraged to the point of giving up, said to Edison, "Sir, we have completely failed. We have worked like crazy for a whole year to end up with a big fat zero." Edison looked at the young man without a hint of anger. He smiled and said words that would go down in history. "Failure? No, I have not failed even once. I have just successfully found 10,000 ways that a light bulb will not work." In October 1879, a carbonized cotton thread burned continuously for 45 hours. The entire laboratory held its breath, staring at that tiny spark of light. That light did not just illuminate the room, it officially banished the night for all humanity. Yet the peak of tragedy in Edison's life did not happen with the light bulb. Once wealthy and famous, Edison poured his entire life savings into a massive project, mining and processing iron ore in North Jersey. He built a colossal mechanical plant. There, he personally designed rock-crushing machines weighing hundreds of tons. The end result was a total failure. The market had discovered new iron ore mines elsewhere that were significantly cheaper. Edison lost every penny of his accumulated fortune. He was officially bankrupt in his late 40s. It didn't stop there. In 1914, when Edison was 67 years old, a catastrophic fire tore through his laboratory complex in West Orange. 10 buildings, housing a lifetime of research, blueprints, and prototypes, went in flames. His son, Charles, ran to find his father in panic. He saw him standing there, his face reflecting the glowing red flames, his silver hair blowing in the wind. Charles looked at the scene and burst into tears, but Edison shouted over the roar, "Charles, go get your mother. Bring her friends, too. Come and watch. They will never see a fire as magnificent as this one." The next morning, the 67-year-old man stood on the ruined pile of ash. He faced the loss of a fortune worth millions of dollars, yet he made a shocking declaration. "There is a great value in disaster. All our mistakes are burned up. Thank God we can start anew." 3 weeks after the fire, the 67-year-old man released his first improved phonograph. Looking back at Thomas Edison's stormy life, we can draw 3 major lessons for our lives today. The first lesson is to redefine the word failure. To Edison, failure was not a dead end, it was just data. Every time he tripped, he knew where the pothole was so he could avoid it next time. If you are failing while testing a project, learning a new skill, or running a business, remember one thing. You are not getting any worse after those stumbles. You're simply gathering data on ways that don't work. The second lesson lies in the importance of adaptability and market orientation. Edison was not a theoretical scientist sitting in an ivory tower. He was a practical inventor. The failure of the vote recorder teaches us that no matter how great your idea is, if it doesn't solve a practical pain point in the market, it will be rejected. Listen to the world before you expect the world to listen to you. The third lesson is mental resilience, a person's greatest asset. Edison's greatest asset was not his patents for the light bulb or the phonograph, but his iron will in front of the ashes at 67. The ability to start all over again with a smile is the clear dividing line. It is the boundary between a great figure and a mediocre person. People often say genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. But perhaps for Edison, that 99% was the sheer perseverance to endure failure. Every time you flip a light switch in your room, light floods in instantly. But behind that split-second moment are decades of groping in the dark by a man who refused to quit. Today, you might be facing your own burned-out light bulb filaments. It could be a poor test score, a rejected contract, a broken relationship, or a dream that seems to hit a dead end. When you feel most like giving up, remember the 67-year-old man who stood before the ashes of his life and still smiled. Allow yourself to fail, but never allow yourself to quit. Because who knows, on the 10,000th and first attempt, your light might just shine through.